Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and today we're going to talk about everything 40-year mortgage. Primary reason I want to talk about the 40-year mortgage right now is I just reviewed 2 articles within 10 hours of this video that says FHA has recently approved the 40-year mortgage for home buyers, allowing them to get a cheaper mortgage. Now, when I first read those articles, I started to panic and I started to think, why on earth would FHA make a 40-year mortgage when we need the housing market to correct? To me, with all of the rumors of credit crunch and credit tightening, to allow a 40-year mortgage is complete nonsense. Obviously, what happens with the 40-year mortgage is people stop focusing on the price and once again start focusing on the payment, which is an old used car salesman trick. The reality is a 40-year mortgage doesn't really save you that much money. And the biggest problem with the 40-year mortgage is the mindset, the fact that it allows people to think that they shouldn't be paying their loan off early. When people start getting comfortable with just payment, they start investing poorly. At least most people. So today we're going to dig really deep into this. And again, you guys, I lost sleep over this. Now, yesterday I was glancing through YouTube and I saw a Meet Kevin video where he discusses 40-year mortgages. Now, about 3 o'clock this morning, I saw a message on Twitter basically saying that FHA had recently approved a 40-year mortgage for homeowners. So, again, I started panicking and I started thinking like, oh my gosh, I saw that on Meet Kevin as well, but I thought that he was talking about a loan modification. So then I started panicking at about 3 a.m. and then I went online and I started looking for articles on anything about the 40-year mortgage being approved. And I was feeling ashamed of myself because I've been a loan officer for 21 years and I'm thinking, how the heck can a 40-year mortgage get approved and I don't know about it? And let me show you what I found online. So when I go online, this is the first article I find. FHA approved 40-year mortgage for home buyers in May. This is Yahoo News, you guys. Now, this was published April 7th at 8:22 p.m. So this was published last night. And then immediately after that, I find this article. FHA approved 40-year mortgage for home buyers in May. And again, this was also published last night at 6:27 p.m. And I'm telling you guys, at this point, I'm absolutely panicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, should I call Todd Sachs and apologize? I thought it was only for loan modifications. And now we have these articles saying that FHA are approved for home buyers. And then I actually listened to the video, and this is what I hear.
It's not easy to afford a home these days, but a new option is about to become available that could help some prospective buyers out there. It has its pros, it has its cons. Here's ABC 15's Christine Stanwood.
From 15-year to 30, now 40.
It just gives us a better option.
The Federal Housing Administration announcing they're increasing the term options to include a 40-year mortgage.
The whole idea is that we have an affordability issue.
Here's what's good about it.
The short term is just that you're going to get a lower payment and a payment that you can afford.
We met up with Dan O'Connell. He's a Valley mortgage broker with OC Home Loans. His business is built on purchases and refinancing. O'Connell says you may run into trouble if you choose to stay in your home, paying thousands more with current interest rates.
You don't want to get into a situation where the payment's too high that you're house poor. But by doing a 40-year term, if the payment is now affordable and you're worried about 40 years is too long, I assure you that rates are going to get better.
O'Connell says it all comes down to what fits right for you and your family's budget.
It's just that we're at a particularly tough time right now where it's kind of the perfect storm of really high prices and really high rates.
As for adjustable rate mortgages,
the ARM pricing isn't significantly better than the fixed rate pricing. So it hasn't been a viable option.
The 40-year mortgage goes into effect May 8th. In Phoenix, Christine Stanwood, ABC 15, Arizona.
So I listened to that, and again, immediately I'm thinking, Travis, you're a failure, because I've been telling people there's no way a 40-year mortgage is going to get passed on the origination side. So the next thing I do, I jump on my work email and I'm scouring all the guidelines and the regulations, trying to find anything I can find from FHA that says they have approved a 40-year mortgage. And other than those 2 articles in the message on Twitter, I couldn't find anything. So I go to FHA directly, and here's what I find. Here's an article that I found regarding FHA and the 40-year mortgage. Let's read a little bit about this. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, recently issued a final rule extending the maximum term of an FHA loan modification from 30 years to 40 years, and this rule is effective May 8th of 2023. Let's continue. Prior to this change, FHA policies provided for a 40-year loan modification only in cases in which COVID-19 recovery partial claim funds are available. So when I read that, I immediately felt a lot better. And then I also reminded myself how foolish some of these sales agents and news media stations are for jumping on the bandwagon that a 40-year mortgage was for home buyers. The reality of the 40-year mortgage, y'all, is it's not for home buyers, it's for homeowners who are in distress. So it's not something you can even use to purchase real estate. And do me a favor, rewind this video and watch the video of that broker again and see how ridiculous this man actually is. And the news station ran with this story. Yahoo and a second news station ran with this story. You guys, I was worried for no reason. There is no 40-year mortgage. It pertained to loan modification. And the reality is loan modification already had 40-year mortgages. They extended it to families in distress, but that are not in distress from COVID-related financial trouble. So they really didn't even do anything. They're just extending it. And the reality is interest-only loan modifications existed. So debunked. There is no 40-year mortgage, and a large reason that is the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. Now, let me show you how that law creates something called qualified mortgages. And that's the reason why we cannot have 40-year mortgages for home buyers right now, because it does not fall under QM or qualified mortgages. Take a look. So again, qualified mortgages existed because the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Act, but let's get some more information on what exactly a qualified mortgage is and how does that protect the lender and the consumer. A qualified mortgage, QM, is the defined class of mortgages that meet certain borrower and lending standards outlined in the Dodd-Frank regulations. These are made in conjunction with ability to repay, or ATR. So it's all about affordability. So again, with the ability to repay, ATR standard that requires lenders to evaluate and ensure that a borrower will be able to meet his or her mortgage obligations. ATR requires that the lender make a good faith effort to determine that you have the ability to repay your mortgage before you take it out. If a lender makes a qualified mortgage available to you, it means the lender met certain requirements. It's assumed that the lender followed the ability to repay rule. Now, if the lender doesn't do that and the loan no longer qualifies as a QM, they can actually get sued by the borrower. Let's read this. If a lender fails to comply with ATR and the borrower can prove this in court, the lender could be liable up to 3 years of the loan's interest cost, any charges and fees the borrower paid, and the borrower's legal fees. So in other words, if the lender gives money to a borrower that does not fall under QM, that borrower could potentially sue them for a ton of money. And the reason why the QM mortgages exist is the 2008-2009 subprime mortgage collapse. We found there that we couldn't rely on professionals and we couldn't rely on potential homeowners to purchase responsibly. So that's why QM exists. Let me show you what normal lenders cannot do. One of them being a 40-year mortgage. Let me show you. I remember when this passed, and the really wild thing to me was how they made lending guidelines law. I thought that was really, really crazy. But here's the thing, you guys. The qualified mortgage definition bans loans with interest-only payment. So we can't even do interest-only loans. You can do that with non-QM. Non-QM requires a much larger down payment and it's a much higher interest rate. Now, the second ban is negative amortization. And negative amortizations is where your minimum payment doesn't even cover the interest. So your loan principal balance actually goes up every single month. Also, mortgage with balloon payments. And again, this is normal residential financing, QM mortgages. Obviously, there are investor loans and non-QM loans where they do come with some of these criteria. Now, the next thing, and this is important, no documentation loans, or rather stated. So they got rid of stated, as you can see here, or alt doc, like doc mortgages, as they should. Now, here's the thing right here, and I highlighted this in blue, loan terms that are longer than 30 years. Again, loan terms that are longer than 30 years. You guys, that's in law. That is in legislation. So we can't just magically have a 40-year mortgage without turning back some laws and protections that were designed for consumers to begin with. When consumers want to do away with certain laws that are designed to protect themselves from themselves, usually it's a red flag. So thank goodness we have these protections, or people would immediately start getting a 40-year mortgage and start buying overpriced houses once again before the Federal Reserve finishes their job. Why can't people just pause right now? And another thing, why can't people get the story straight? These articles that I just read, y'all, made it to mainstream media. Y'all, they were breaking down mortgage payments of 30-year versus a 40-year, all of this stuff, when the reality is it's false. 40 years are only for loan modification, and the law change was only extending it to non-COVID related financial hardship. In conclusion, I lost sleep for no reason, but I wanted to get this video out to y'all this morning just in case you also read the article in the newsline so that y'all knew that the reality is there is no 40-year mortgage for home buyers. It's for homeowners that are under financial distress and want to prevent foreclosure. And by doing that, you destroy your credit. However, it may help some people that are struggling, but the payment doesn't even go down that much, y'all. It doesn't even go down that much. But either way, I really hope that we got to the bottom of this. I hope in today's video, you guys got additional value, insights, and perspective. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you know I wish you luck, and I hope you win.